If you're dealing with chronic fatigue, chances are you've tried a million different ways to get better. Different specialists, different supplements, different diets, different therapies. And every time you start something new, there's that little voice in the back of your head that says, what if this doesn't work either? I know that voice well because that was me for years. Looking back now, one of the biggest things that kept me stuck wasn't just my symptoms, it was the limiting beliefs I had about my body, about my recovery, and about what was actually possible for me. Those limiting beliefs developed early on in my condition. It didn't matter who I saw or what I tried, I wasn't getting better. And in fact, I was getting worse. And every setback just reinforced the same old story in my mind. I'd try a new diet, a supplement, a therapy, and I'd go into already feeling like it probably wasn't going to work. I really hoped that it would, but that doubt and fear was always there. And trying to push through that resistance was exhausting. At my worst, if I tried something as simple as walking or doing light stretching, I'd end up completely wiped out. Swollen glands, headaches, muscle pain, fatigue, you name it. And my mind would just immediately go to, see, my body can't handle it. Or there must be something seriously wrong with me. Or what if I never get better? And the more I spiraled like that, the more these beliefs got reinforced. If you're watching this, chances are you've felt this too. And honestly, it makes sense. Back then, I struggled to find evidence that supported a different belief. All the evidence I had said, carefully manage this condition, otherwise I'll pay for it. But even with all that fear and doubt, there was another part of me that refused to accept this as my life forever. Part of that is my personality. I don't like being told that I can't do something. So being told I wouldn't recover was frustrating and disheartening, but at the same time, it fueled this drive for me to prove that I would. But I didn't want to just recover and go back to my normal life. Having this condition made me realize just how much of my potential I'd previously left untapped. So I wanted to recover and live my life to the fullest. And the reason there was even a glimmer of belief that this would be possible came from the story of former Australian rules footballer Alistair Lynch. At the peak of his career, Alistair was hit with chronic fatigue, seemingly out of nowhere. It completely wiped him out, sleeping up to 18 hours a day, dealing with all kinds of health issues, losing the life he knew. But unlike all the advice and stories I was reading at the time, he recovered. And not only recovered, he went back to playing AFL at the highest level and won multiple premierships. And I just remember thinking, well, if he can come back from that, then why can't I? But at the same time, I was seeing doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist, and the message was always the same. You just need to manage it. So I managed, which meant barely leaving my house, no work, no sport, no exercise, no social life, no real future plans, just surviving and still feeling like shit every day anyway. There were so many reasons to believe recovery wasn't possible, but for some reason, I just couldn't fully accept that as my truth. So I kept searching. Eventually, after years of thinking I'd tried everything, I found someone who said something to me no one else had. You can fully recover. And not only that, you can create the life that you want. And instantly, in that moment, I chose to believe them, which is kind of crazy. I had a tidal wave of people and stories saying it wasn't possible. And for some reason, I chose to believe the one person who said it was. And that new belief created a chain reaction that changed everything. Fast forward to today, I work, I train, I play sport, I travel, I socialize, I live without fear of relapse, and I coach people on how to do the same. And that didn't happen overnight because I suddenly had a new belief and unwavering confidence. It happened because I decided to keep choosing new beliefs that aligned with what I wanted, even when at times fear and doubt was still very loud. So let's just take a step back for a second. What actually is a belief? A belief isn't a fact, it's a filter our brain uses to interpret the world. Once we decide something is true, our brain starts looking for evidence to support it and starts filtering out anything that contradicts it. When I believed my body was failing, that doing anything physical meant paying for it later, those beliefs caused my nervous system to stay on high alert. Those beliefs didn't just affect my thoughts, they affected my physiology. Our beliefs shape what we notice, what we expect, what we avoid, what we attempt, and what we think is possible. A limiting belief shrinks our world, an empowering one expands it. We see this all the time in the placebo and nocebo effect. In placebo studies, people are given a fake treatment, but because they believe it will help, their physiology changes and their symptoms improve. The nocebo effect is the opposite. When people expect something will cause harm or negative side effects, their body often creates them, even with nothing harmful present. That's proof beliefs don't just live in our head, they directly influence our nervous system and our body. An example of the power of beliefs that always sticks in my mind is the story of the 4-minute mile. For decades, people believed it simply wasn't possible to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Experts said it was an insurmountable human limitation. Some even said it would be dangerous to attempt. Then in 1954, along comes Roger Bannister, a neurologist and an athlete who challenged that belief and ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Within weeks, someone else broke the record. Then another person did it. Then another. Since then, thousands of people have ran a sub 4 minute mile. Nothing physically changed in the human body overnight. It was the belief that changed. And recovery works the same way. Once I gained the right knowledge and support, that's when I began slowly weeding out the beliefs that were holding me back and instilling new ones that helped me move forward. And this applies no matter where you are in your journey. Maybe you've made a lot of progress, but every now and then you still hit setbacks that knock your confidence. That's where I'd encourage you to stop and check in. Where there's a struggle or resistance, there's usually a limiting belief behind it. Ask yourself, is this thing I'm struggling with a fact, or is it a belief? If it's a belief, is it serving me, or is it just an old pattern trying to protect me? Then coach yourself through it. What would I prefer to believe instead? How would I feel if that were true? How would I stand, walk, speak? Immerse yourself fully in that state, because your brain doesn't change through logic alone. It changes through repeated experience. And I say repeated because repetition is so important. Taking this step every now and then won't create the change you're looking for. To change a belief, you need to change your neurology. Having awareness and consistently interrupting the old belief patterns and stepping into new empowering ones is so important. Yes, at first this will feel unnatural. I remember feeling major imposter syndrome, like I was lying to myself. But with consistency, I went from practicing what I wanted to believe to actually believing it. And if you're newer to this and you're really struggling right now, you can still start in the same place. Meet it with awareness and break it down. Ask, what's my biggest fear about this? What would I like to believe instead? How would I feel and act if that were true? Then use all your senses to create that reality. This isn't just fluff, this is neuroscience. Our brain can't tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Both create and strengthen neural pathways as if they were really happening. And look, your beliefs will get tested along the way. Just because I learned recovery was possible didn't mean I suddenly never had doubt again. Early on in my recovery, fear and doubt showed up all the time. That is normal. Knowledge is a foundation, but it is not enough on its own. You must apply it. You must take action. Step into your limitations, work with resistance when it shows up. Some beliefs shift easily, others are going to be stubborn. Be patient, stay consistent, and be kind to yourself, because the stubborn ones change too. And this part's really important because it took a while for it to sink in for me. You don't force your way out of chronic conditions. You don't recover by trying harder or doing more. You recover by doing things differently. And changing your beliefs is one of the core keys in that process. Because when your beliefs change, your physiology changes, your behaviors change, your whole reality changes. I do this work with my clients all the time. And if this is something you feel you need extra support with, I'll leave my details below this video. You're always welcome to reach out, even if it's just for a chat. Because if you've been told recovery is impossible, if you've been carrying doubt for years, if setbacks have crushed your confidence, please know this. You're not broken. You've just been operating from old beliefs. And beliefs can change. If it was possible for me and so many people I've worked with, then it's possible for you too. Now, in my experience, I found it really hard to change certain beliefs around chronic fatigue before I understood what actually creates and maintains this condition. Once I gained that understanding, believing in recovery became much easier. So if you want to understand what chronic fatigue really is and why that understanding can take a lot of fear out of the recovery process, watch this video next.